products going live commercially, and then you got those top line readouts in 2027. I just can't stress enough. Like, that is not something that is typically seen. And for a company like ours, working in a category where we are really one of the only companies doing this work in this category and filling this white space, I think that's a really exciting opportunity.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us today for another Virtual Investor CEO Connect segment. Today we are featuring DARÉ Bioscience. My name is Janine Thomas. I am CEO of JTCIR, and I will be the moderator for today's event. I am very pleased to be joined by Sabrina Martucci Johnson. She's President and Chief Executive Officer of DARÉ Bioscience. Welcome back, Sabrina.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Well, so happy to have you. Lots to talk about. But before we get started, I just want to remind our audience that DARÉ Bioscience is publicly listed on NASDAQ and trades under the ticker DARE. And during today's discussion, the company will be making forward-looking statements, and I encourage everyone to view the company's latest SEC filings on their website at darebioscience.com for the latest information. So, Sabrina, we are going to dive in. You just recently announced your Q2 financials. So Q2 does feel like an inflection point for DARÉ Bioscience, not just because of the progress across the pipeline, but because now you've launched your first directly commercialized product and are preparing for DARE to Play to begin generating revenue. So how should investors think about what has fundamentally changed about DARÉ Bioscience today versus even 6 months ago? And what does that transition unlock over the next 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So, 6 months ago, our story was really almost entirely a development stage pipeline story, right? Promising science, but we weren't generating our own revenue yet. And that's one of the most fundamental things that has changed. So with Flora Sync LF5 having launched it right at the end of June and really starting to generate revenue in July, and now DARE to Play Sildenafil Cream that is targeted to have prescriptions to start dispensing in this third quarter of 2026 through the 503B compounding pathway, while we continue to pursue FDA approval through the 505B2 pathway in parallel. That combination of capital efficient market entry now, while there may be future FDA approvals down the road, that's a shift for us. It means that we're no longer solely a clinical development stage company, solely dependent on the clinical milestones. We still like those. We still have some coming up, but now we have commercial execution as well. So, what that really unlocks for us in the next 12 to 18 months is the ability to show real commercial momentum, real data, purchases, repeat demand, provider prescribing behavior, execution across the channels. And our objectives for 2026 is really that disciplined commercial execution and that commercial validation, so that we're establishing the benchmarks, the repeatable processes, and how we're going to execute to support that efficient growth in 2027. And that's something that we haven't been able to give investors before now.
Well, a lot has changed in such a short period of time. It's so impressive, and congratulations. It's very exciting.
Thank you.
So you've described the commercial infrastructure you're building as something designed to support not just today's launches, but products across the portfolio. So as FloraSync LF5 and DARE to Play begin moving through that ecosystem, what are you learning about the customer acquisition, provider engagement, and access? And how could those learnings make each successive DARÉ Bioscience launch faster, more efficient, and potentially more valuable?
Yeah, the way we really thought about building the commercial platform, how we're approaching provider engagement, the digital marketing we're using, the telehealth access, our DARE Health Hub, it's all designed so that no single product carries the full burden of either building the audience or the distribution channel from scratch. So through the collaborations that we do, such as with My Menopause RX that we recently announced, the way we leverage podcasts and influencers, the way the products are actually together, right, on the DARE Health Hub, it gives us that established women's health platform and template so that every new partnership we do thereafter, every product we do thereafter, it leverages all of that. So, for instance, right now, Fluorescent LF5 and Dare to Place NFL Cream, they're both on the platform now. They're both moving through the platform right now. And then as we think about bringing on Dare to Reclaim, our estradiol progesterone vaginal hormone therapy for menopause, which we're targeting to bring into market in 2027 through that same infrastructure, it's leveraging all of that together. So we're really looking to have the products move through this system, through the channels together, and using those same platforms and channels. So as they convert and we get that engagement, we get that targeted digital marketing or the telehealth, it's efficient. And so we can allocate capital across initiatives that show the strongest engagement, the strongest conversion, and return on investment. And then we can leverage that across the products on the platform. So we can use that same, playbook going forward. So every subsequent launch, like Dare to Reclaim, they won't be starting from scratch. They're going to be able to leverage what came ahead of them.
Amazing. An engine, really. It's very exciting.
I like
Uh,
that. Yes, an
yeah.
engine.
I mean, that's exactly what you described. So, as you read your 2Q filing and read the press release, listened to your earnings call, what stands out in Q2 is that momentum isn't coming from a single program. You have commercial launches underway, positive interim phase 3 results for Ovaprene, DARE HPV entering phase 2, and additional milestones ahead. So, when you look across the next 12 to 18 months, what catalysts do you believe have the greatest potential to change how investors understand the scale of the value of DARÉ Bioscience?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So, you highlighted so many of the things that I think makes this next, series of months so exciting for us. And so a few things stand out. So the first you kind of touched on, right? The commercial data that we're going to start having from Fluorescent LF5, from Dare to Place and NFL Cream, that, how the products are converting, the provider demand, the adoption. Those are great metrics that we're going to be able to share about the commercial model. And obviously investors are looking towards that and excited to see that. But as you also touched on, we've had such great clinical milestones that we've been able to hit that really set us up for some exciting milestones in 2027. So on Ovaprene, for instance, we reported those positive interim results from the ongoing phase 3 study and that independent data safety monitoring board meeting that took place. And they recommended that we continued the study without modification, and we're expecting top-line data in 2027 in a category that has no FDA-approved non-hormonal monthly contraceptive available today. And then DARE HPV, which is our product that we're investigating for human papillomavirus infection, which is the virus that causes cervical cancer, for which there's no FDA-approved treatment. We initiated that phase 2 study, which I'll highlight is funded by a $10 million ARPA-H grant, as well as a grant we've also received from a division of the NIH. We're enrolling into that study right now. We started enrolling in May, and we have those top-line data also anticipated in 2027. So when you think of all of that together, we've got these 2 clinical readouts, we've got commercialization activities happening. So hopefully what an investor really understands from that is this isn't about a single event. It's what we have happening simultaneously now together, the different catalysts that we have across categories, commercial and clinical, and that de-risking that's happening. So, and all of that in terms of the development pipeline that I talked about being advanced with non-dilutive capital. So it's not a single event. It's not a single program. And that is, I think, pretty unique for a company of our size and in the sector that we develop in.
Absolutely. And I really want our audience to listen to the next question and your response because, you talked about the momentum over the past 6 months and the transformation into, commercializing your product. And now, what you just described. So I really encourage everyone to listen to the question and the response coming up. So for an investor discovering DARÉ Bioscience today, The company increasingly looks different from a traditional development stage biotech. You're beginning to generate product revenue, building a multi-product commercial portfolio, advancing late-stage clinical assets, and leveraging meaningful non-dilutive funding, all of what you just talked about. So what do you think the market may still be underappreciating about the DARÉ Bioscience story, and what should investors watch for as that value becomes more visible?
Yeah, so many things, but I'll
I know,
highlight
right?
so much, but I'll highlight a couple things. So first of all, one of the things you mentioned right at the end there, the non-dilutive funding, I really want to highlight that's not incidental, right? Like this is something structural that we've purposely done, and agreements that we've signed with the Gates Foundation, including, by the way, something we hardly talk about, but we have service revenue that comes in from agreements we've signed with the Gates Foundation. But the grants we get from the Gates Foundation, from ARPA-H, from divisions of the NIH, those are funding really important clinical readouts next year for two first in category products. Ovaprene, where there is no other once a month hormone free vaginal contraceptive, and DARE HPV, where there is no treatment for human papillomavirus infection. So first of all, I really want to stress that capital that offsets those program costs without diluting our shareholders and sets us up for those really important clinical milestones and first in category products. I think the market is not appreciating, right, the value that brings to them. Second, on the commercial side, it, it is so unique. It is so unique to have commercial products going live at the same time that you have this pipeline advancing and the clinical data that's advancing. And we've been highlighting Fluorescent LF5 and DARE to Place Sildenafil Cream because those are the ones either live or going live, this quarter. But this is really a 3-product commercial build out. We've got DARE to Reclaim, our estradiol progesterone ring for menopause hormone therapy that we're targeting for 2027 through that same 503B compounding pathway that we're using for DARE to Place Sildenafil Cream. So, and that's going into a category where there's so much noise and there's so much discussion around menopause hormone therapy today, and yet there's not a product that actually meets the Menopause Society guidelines for menopause hormone therapy. So we're super excited about that. So if you think about this, we got the 3 products, right? Each one designed to kind of strengthen and enhance the audience for the next rather than standing alone. And then we got this clinical data readout. So, you got products going live commercially, and then you got those top line readouts in 2027. I just can't stress enough. Like that is not something that is typically seen. And for a company like ours, working in a category where we are really one of the only companies doing this work in this category and filling this white space, I think that's a really exciting opportunity.
Yeah, and this is primed for investors that are looking to identify companies. Investors should definitely do the work, but
Yeah,
identify companies that have, near-term value inflection points. And
yeah,
all of that, I mean, it's the real deal. You
yeah,
have had the opportunity to showcase and to highlight your execution and validate your execution from development to commercialization. And,
yep.
and that's where that engine comes into play. So it's just, I mean, this really is a great opportunity for investors. So definitely a great time to hear about this story. So I appreciate you sharing it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So with that, you had a lot to tell us. So
I
with that,
did.
this does conclude our Virtual Investor CEO Connect segment featuring DARÉ Bioscience. I'd like to thank Sabrina Martucci Johnson for joining us today. And if you like what you saw today, I encourage you to visit DARÉ Bioscience website at darebioscience.com and follow their social channels to stay up to date on the latest information from the company. So Sabrina, thank you again. We'll definitely have you back. Congratulations. And I wish everyone a great rest of your day.